nuggets from this document, but I did try to kind of organize it for you in a short form. But I hope that encourages you to get online and look at the total document. And the website where you can find the total document and the fuller explanation is at the end of the handout. So there are some convictions that I think are worth sharing right here and now. I have about 8, because they might influence our discussion later. Keep in mind that, overwhelmingly the theme of justice is within this document. So one of the themes is all people are created equally in the image of God and are endowed with certain inalienable rights. The second is God creates humanity in diversity, encompassing a wide variety of experiences, identities, and expressions, including sex and gender. Sins of patriarchy and sexism, like all human sin, disrupt God's intention. We recognize patriarchy and sexism are a mix of power, privilege, and prejudice.
You skipped one. You skipped one. The good news is true.
No, I'm just pulling out some that I think that I think will influence our discussion. Yeah. We recognize patriarchy and sexism are a mix of power, privilege, and prejudice, and they prevent all human beings from living into the abundant life for which God created them. We reject patriarchy and sexism as sinful because they deny the truth that all people are created equally in God's image. Everyone, and they mean everyone, intentionally and unintentionally participates in a patriarchal system. Patriarchal systems hurt women and girls, and they also hurt men and boys when they are forced to conform to narrow gender stereotypes. The church confesses that Christianity and certain beliefs, practices, and aspects of its history is complicit in the sins of patriarchy and sexism. The document then launches into sections called Call to Action in Society and Call to Action in the Church. These sections tell us what we should commit to, and the common theme here is that the church teaches that the God who justifies expects all people to seek justice in earthly structures and systems, including the church. That statement just sort of says to me, what are all the things we should be engaging in the systems and structures where we can make change to provide justice? We are given many suggestions for ways in which we can act to seek justice for women. And that's basically sort of a quick summary of the document. I really encourage you to get online and read it. I found it really engaging and really made me think. So.
And the website, the link's right here.
Yeah, the website's there.
It was a little tough to find, because ELCA, there's a lot of stuff, so
you can go
right to this.
ELCA.org, and it's easy to find it.
You can Google Women and Justice stuff.
Yeah, Women and Justice.
No.
Okay, I'm just asking, maybe Sharon's going to address it, so I'm jumping the gun, but now that this has been published and everything,
Speak up, you need.
I don't think I've ever had anybody say they don't want me. But that's all right, Marge.
Everybody must stand up. It's old.
I was just going to ask, now that this wonderful thing has been done and published, now what? I mean, what's going to happen with it other than it being on the website?
It has many actions that we can take. It's up to churches and Christians to take those actions. The Synod can propose them, but we really need to act. And it's not just justice for women; it's justice for everyone. Yeah.
But to whom do you perceive this document was primarily directed to? Was it primarily directed to the church organization? Was it primarily directed toward the public who may or may not be church-going folks? Was it directed to the sinners?
I think it was, Mark, I think it was directed to Christians in the Lutheran Church initially. But it can be used for advocacy, it can direct advocacy, it can direct us in our own churches, in our own lives. And that's what they want to happen.
Okay, so they want us kids, to be informed and alter our ways
Yes.
and means and mouth and brain
Yes.
to acknowledge.
Yeah.
You know, we are gonna have a discussion, let's move forward, and then we'll keep going.
So my name is Sharon Van Riper. I'm going to show you 2 brief video clips, but before I do that, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. I think most of you know that women got the right to vote in 1920, so we're in our 99th year of being able to vote. But here's a question for you. How many women in this room were adult enough to have a credit card in 1972? Just
In what year?
1972. If you were old enough to, like if you were an adult and working in 1972, do you know or do you remember that you had to have the permission of a man in order to get that credit card? Do you remember that, ladies? Because I do.
Wow.
I don't think I did.
I don't remember that.
Taken my credit card out of my name into my husband's name. The law wasn't changed until 1974 that allowed women to have their own credit.
Oh, God. Yeah, sorry. It's true.
And I think most of you know about this, but if you haven't seen,
I don't think most of people.
Once in the U.S. Constitution.
Known as the word freedom, Your Honor.
so that's a little clip. Should I play it again?
Yeah, because
Okay,
it
sorry.
didn't, started
Go back a
too
little
late,
bit.
yeah.
That's on the basis of sex.
The word woman does not appear even once in the U.S. Constitution.
Known as the word freedom, Your Honor.
Right.
So it was RBG who in 1972 brought that case, and she's not talking about women's credit cards there, but it was on that basis of making women actually a real part of our society that began the change that allow us to have credit cards in our name, to
Buy a
get
home.
able buy our own things, to have our own names on a home. Couldn't do that either before 1972. So just to give you a little background of where we've come from, there was a law passed in '64 with the Civil Rights Law that barred any kind of discrimination based on race, gender, but that didn't really change. We're still fighting for equal pay for equal work. Still fighting for that. Okay, so here's the discussion. And I want to play this one for you, and then this will give us a little bit of a background as to what the dilemma is in the church. I think we get the dilemma in society a little bit better, perhaps, than we do in the church. But this is about what goes on in the church.
So you're gonna set it?
We're still debating. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Sikhism all had their own origins millennia ago in societies which were run and ruled by men. Now, today, women's status and roles in many countries are very different, with equality enshrined in law. Yet many religions continue to treat women as subject to different rules, even as inferior to men. Are religions sexist? Well, Alison Ruoff, explain to people this morning, good morning. Morning. Explain to people this morning why you think women cannot be full bishops and should not be full bishops with full responsibility for the diocese.
That's a big jump from the original discussion.
We'll fan out onto that in a minute.
Okay.
We'll start with this.
Women bishops. Well, I go back to the Bible, and my understanding is that let me just say, first of all, that I have no problem with women reaching the highest of any profession in the secular world. I think it's absolutely brilliant. We have Her Majesty, and we've had a female Prime Minister, and I think it's great. But I do not believe it to be right in the church. And I go back to the Bible, going back to Genesis, that Adam was made first, and Eve was his helper. Secondly, in 1 Corinthians, I think it's chapter 11, we look at Christ being the head of everybody, and man being the head of woman. And I just think that in the church it's not right for women to be in authority over men. And it's mirrored in marriage. That's not to say there isn't partnership between the man and the woman in marriage.
But the ultimate final decision.
The ultimate final decision, I believe, comes from the husband. And a lot of times, I'm thinking, this is great. We've discussed it. We've come to maybe we haven't come to a conclusion. But my husband can make the final decision.
But you don't have to make the final decision.
No, there are times when I'm quite glad that I don't have to, but by and large we do everything in partnership, and I believe that to be right. So I see it as what we call in the church as headship, and I think that should be mirrored. I do have a problem in the church only with women being in authority over men, and that's where I stand.
Well, Reverend Rose, that's that sorted then.
I could easily just say baloney.
Well, no, hang on.
My understanding.
Wait. Baloney. Let's have a look at the Bible, if we may. Timothy 2:12, quick simple. I permit not to. I'm sorry, you may not like it, but it's in the Bible. I permit not a woman to teach, nor to have dominion over a man, but to be in quietness. We don't want that this morning from you. For Adam was first formed, then Eve, and Adam was not beguiled, but the woman being beguiled hath fallen into transgression. Okay. Is this yet another part of the scripture that you want to conveniently ignore?
No, I don't want to conveniently ignore it at all. What I want to say about that is that you have a particular interpretation borne out by the experiences of men at that time. We're not there now. And actually, I don't think that they were just talking about scripturally and church or synagogue. They were talking about the community at that time. And we're not in that community now. So it is a huge jump to bring it from there and say this is exactly how we need to behave now in the 21st century.
Some people have tipped Rose to become a bishop. Because she's a fantastic vicar. And if she was a bishop, would you recognise her as such?
I'm afraid not, because yes, she can be a bishop, but I would not be want to be under her authority in the parish or the church that I was in. I would go to a different church.
Would you move?
Well, not the house, but I would go to a different church where there was not the authority of a female bishop. Or we would have proper provision in the Church of England to have a male bishop in authority for people who were unable to accept the authority of a woman bishop.
I'm sorry. We can't have that. We either have women. The church either accepts women as bishops, full stop, without this ridiculous, let's create another set of bishops.
Coordinate jurisdiction.
Absolutely not. We cannot have that. It must not happen.
You've called that apartheid.
I do. I can only think of it in those terms. You know, when they wanted to abolish apartheid, there are those who says, actually, yes, I'm in favour, we can have them, but let me just save this one bus, so it can only be white alone. No, we mustn't have that. We're grown up.
We've moved on. Why do you think, after 2,000 years, we've suddenly got to change in the 21st century? It's absolute rubbish. Just because it's modernisation.
Change. You wouldn't be on synod, you wouldn't be a magistrate 2,000 years ago. You would be your father's and then your husband's. We are in a different world, we must recognise that. And on General Synod, this has been debated for decades, and last week what we said repeatedly, and we've been saying it for the last number of years, is yes, we do